My name is Colleen Lambert, and I am Mi'kmaq Tourism, Culture and Recreation Director of Conn River Reserve. I'm also the chair of the Newfoundland and Labrador Indigenous Tourism Association. So I sort of just rolled into tourism through my logistical abilities. And I've got to say I love it. It's very demanding. It's very broad because we cover all of sports, recreation, leisure activities, community culture in the sense of drumming and dancing and the powwow and such, but also we try to bring beading and basket making and all of these opportunities back to community members. But that's going to lead into tourism, cultural development. So it all ties together essentially. And so I came from the recreational field and sort of, wiggled my way out into tourism.
My name is Caroline Swan, and I'm the Executive Director of the Newfoundland and Labrador Indigenous Tourism Association. In the far north, I gotta say, we have two land masses, the island of Newfoundland and the large landmass of Labrador. Multiple Indigenous cultures there. Since a little girl, I did all sorts of different projects and things for work, and I found that tourism really resonated. I tried everything from teaching to guiding out in the wilderness, to working on events, to cleaning rooms and selling accommodations, to serving food, and I loved it all. But what I found is that I wanted to create my own path. And I started working in product development and then helping communities develop all sorts of tourism assets and then marketing out on an international scale.
My most proudest moment was when my daughter had said to me that she wanted to get into tourism as her career path, and it was because of the programs and projects that she grew up with around me, and the positive that I brought back to the community through those programs. And when she told me that she actually wanted to get into tourism as a career path, at first my instinct was, oh gosh, there's so much work in tourism, but then I thought about that she'll have so many wonderful opportunities to share her culture.
If I had to summarize it, the proudest moment is probably when I get to watch someone go out on the land, provide their knowledge and skills and share it with others, get paid for it, which is really, really important, so they make revenue, and at the end of the day they feel empowered and confident about what they're doing. And we get to see that almost on a daily basis now, and that's exactly why I do my job. I'll give you an example of a person that was often told she wasn't in the tourism industry, that her ideas were crazy, far out there, and all she wanted to do was host people out on the land, right? And given the opportunity, she hosted a group of 15 and she knocked it out of the park. It was amazing and truly beautiful and actually life-changing for many. And at the end of the day, she really sat there with great confidence. You could see it was just beaming in her eyes. That she was able to deliver something that was not just true knowledge, but a true experience for people that changed them, and they then can go out into the world and offer that awareness to others as well. So yeah, she was in what we call health tourism, and it's really not well understood or known in North America, but it's huge internationally.
Growing our products and our experiences so that our community members can offer those can sometimes be hindered by lack of funds. But I think the biggest issue is actually convincing my community members that what they know, how they live, is actual knowledge that other people would love to come and learn from them. They just don't have the confidence to believe in themselves and that what they're doing in their backyards and what they're doing on the land or in the water is something that people would come and pay to be a part of.
So when it comes to challenges, I find they exist, right? And we encounter them every day. Most challenging would probably be to convince someone that they're capable of doing what they really want to do. But I really do want to add to that sometimes they just need the right time. So when time and confidence don't align, then you run into a really big challenge.
So some of the opportunities that we have now that we didn't have just a few short years ago is the ability to sit on advisory boards. It can be a hindrance to it sometimes, but it's very important for us to be able to sit on those boards just so that the people that are offering products or any kind of service realize the effects that it could have on us as a community, us as partners, and that if you're going to integrate our culture into your business or your programs, that really you need to be speaking to us so that it's authentic and it's correct, and that you respect us in that sense. So we do get invited out to sit on these boards. That's not something that we have had in the past, so a lot of collaboration in that sense. We also have collaborations between some of our bigger partners. So Parks Canada is one that I often talk about because apparently Mi'kmaq First Nation has a great partnership with Parks Canada on almost all of their programming and all of their new projects and upcoming projects. So that's very great to see. Funding initiatives. So I know that there have been greater opportunities now regarding funding that we didn't have access to in the past. And those people are getting so much better with getting that information out. These agencies are getting much better at getting out to everybody, or as much as possible. So, and they're utilizing the Indigenous Tourism Associations and the DMOs of the province too as well to get that information out. So that's great. That's really, really good. Also, those same organizations, they don't just send out the information anymore. They actually make contact, they discuss the program with you, and they offer their aid to you as an organization. For me, that would be for Mi'kmaq First Nation government, but also to community members, so individual applicants too as well. So that's amazing because my people, some of them can be very, very put off by the online process of applications or partnership building. And to have that one-on-one with these people is sometimes the key to actually fulfilling those goals. The process of exchanging cultural knowledge and how to work together to better the process and is going to be much more prevalent in the upcoming collaborations and partnerships that we build.
Inclusivity is really important right now. And so people are starting to adjust their mindsets and be more willing to talk about their identity, define who they are, because a piece of paper or the place that you're born doesn't always define you. And so I think it's a real opportunity, again, in Indigenous tourism for individuals to find their own path and decide what it is that they want to do in the industry. In terms of the economic side, I think the desire is huge for people to learn and experience. When it comes to willingness to put money down, there are people in this world that have money that want to spend it and want to spend it for authentic experiences when it comes to, let's say, cultural or traditional ways. And so it doesn't matter your age or your background, there's an opportunity for you to be able to offer services or experiences for people that they're willing to pay for. And so in my experience with it, there's an opportunity to make a lot of money. Everything from the average visitor that may be just from down the road to an international guest. On the political side, even the government offices are buying Indigenous art right now, right? They're hosting events and they want Indigenous speakers and performers. people need to know the original peoples of this land, and the only way for them to know is to have that exposure, right? So I would say right now is the best time for people to get out and do things.
So cultural authenticity is very important to Mi'kmaq First Nation. We are, there's so many programs and projects that we're working on now to revitalize our own culture. We were at a point in our lives where almost 100% of our culture was just eradicated. Our language will never come back. That's the pessimist in me. The optimist is like someday we will get that back. And just listening to Joe John do the prayer this morning in our Mi'kmaq language, it just brings tears to my eyes that I could not understand any of those words. But we do have a project in place where we're working on finding funds to help bring an actual fully speaking Mi'kmaq to the community, to help us bring that back to not only the school system but to community members, so that when children bring that home, the parents can speak to the children. Because if you're just teaching the kids, how are they supposed to learn when they leave the classroom? And that was a big issue of ours. The language in my school came back when I was in school, but it only went to a certain level. It was conversational. So I can ask you, how are you? And I can answer, I am fine. But I couldn't go beyond that. So the curriculum now has risen above that. So when my child came home and talked to me in a little bit more than conversational, I wasn't able to speak it back to her. So how are you supposed to be able to get better at something that you can't speak outside the school system? So when you graduate at grade 12, that's the end of your Mi'kmaq language lessons. So we're trying to change that so that that child can come home. That child can take that to university, but when she comes home, we can still speak it in the household. So that's one of the ventures. The Mi'kmaq Arts and Crafts is a part of my department, and we are finding funding. We've been successful in finding funding to help us bring in people that's going to teach us how. We have great beaters within the community, so we're prioritizing the things that we're not great at. So basket making, hide tanning, hunting, trapping, and going out and finding, starting right at the trapping stages and learning how to trap, how to take that animal and clean it, and how to skin that animal and tan hide so that you can use it for clothing or for crafting, how to craft using those materials, so that you're taking this whole process right from the beginning to the end. And of course, we're also integrating a quality assurance program into the craft shop, and that's to ensure that we are producing products that's strong and resilient, but also a product that's true to our ancestry. So incorporating designs from our Mi'kmaq history, the double curves and such like that, into our products. And so that when we sell them, they're products that are going to last, and there are products that represent us as Mi'kmaq people.
So in my line of work, in Newfoundland and Labrador, authenticity is a really tricky word, because we know that we have past knowledge that was lost. And we know that, again, we live in today's age, 2024. And so modernization is really important, and we should not ignore that. We have to enable people to have that blend. So when it comes to the word authenticity, what it means to us as an organization, and specifically to me, is allowing the person to tap back into what's important to them, and how does it connect to themselves and their ancestors, and then allowing them to be as creative as they want to be. So we see it often in the art, mixing of colors and designs and materials. We see it in experiences in the outdoors, using different tools may not always be traditional, but again, bringing in the knowledge from the past and mixing it with today. And then, of course, whatever wants to be created in the future. So you're going to notice I always go like that, the past, present, and future, and it's because of the fact that we need that blend. So if every product was traditional, in a sense, we wouldn't have a diverse industry. So we actually have Indigenous tourism experience providers that offer ATV tours. And that is actually very traditional for their community. For quite some time, I hazard to guess over 60 years, they've been on ATVs. And so to go out on a tour with them and to learn the traditional knowledge is really special, and it doesn't degrade the quality of the tour by any means. So there's all sorts of different ways to adapt the industry. But when we are challenged, when a tour or an experience is not seen as being authentic, we often ask the provider to tap back into whether or not it fits within the industry. Is what you're offering aligning with your cultural connections or not? And it doesn't have to be personal, it could be community-based, or it could be about, again, a past group that you really find interesting. But as long as there's some kind of connection there, that's what we celebrate. Yeah. We never try to set up rules or regulations on this is the way. We open up the doors to there are many ways, and many ways to gain knowledge too. So.
The advice I would give to youth that are looking to get into tourism would be to immerse yourself in your culture. Find the people that are going to teach you everything that you need to know, everything that they have to teach you, and just live that life. And don't be afraid to reach out. There's a lot of resources in your community and resources outside of your community that can help you move forward, whether that's identifying training opportunities or post-secondary education that can that you may need to forward a career or a life path. Also, we can help with building small businesses, something that can either supplement incomes or a career path in general. Proposal writing, it's a skill that develops over time. We've developed that skill. We have resources that can help you, figure out the ins and outs of proposal writing and matching you up with grants that's gonna fulfill your needs to move further. So, yeah, it's just drop by. We've got some information for you that we can help you with.
I love talking to youth because I know they often are lost on what to do in life. You know, they're shown things on TV, they're encouraged in school to go another way, they have parents maybe advising them or telling them maybe it's all a waste of time and you can just go do something simple. But when you talk to youth and you tell them that you can actually create a really incredible career in tourism, and that tourism is an actual sector with multiple industries, and you can go into one for a year and then to another for a half a year and to another for a week if you wanted to, and move in and out. You can see the world if you wanted to leave home, or you could actually have the whole world come to you in your own home. It's pretty special, and in my opinion, like, it's the best job in the world, so it's pretty easy to convince them. It's just a matter of showing them those different avenues or journeys that they could go on. Tourism is often seen as a stepping stone for other quote-unquote big careers that pay a lot, but I've made a way, and I've watched many others make a way where you can have an amazing life, make a lot of money, doing a lot of really good work, where you get to share it with people from all around the world. So it's kind of cool.
Tourism helps to decolonize within the Atlantic region because it allows us to share our culture and it allows us to speak to the wrongdoings that took place that was brought with colonization. So by sharing our culture and working with people, that's going to allow us to safely and respectfully share our culture, then we will be educating people on exactly who were the first people that were here, who are the originals of the land, how we lived, how we survived, and how important that is to share that with visitors in the future, and the people that live here that are non-Indigenous. And that's going to allow us to create those partnerships, and also, most importantly, it's going to allow us to accept that we have to live here together. And the only way that that's going to work is through working together and living together and accepting and respecting that space that we live in.
So often in any industry, you start to get set standards, and business, as fun and exciting as it is to make money and to offer something new, it's really hard sometimes. And we find in our current government structure and our social dynamics in most communities, it is more a stick over an apple and red tape versus, an open door. So in my opinion, when it comes to Indigenous tourism, we're looking at everything differently. We look at it with elders and with community members, with politicians, and with people that aren't even engaged with the industry directly, and just asking the community members, what is it that you actually like to see, or what kind of impact is this having on you? We don't realize that an airplane being delayed can cause immense amount of grief for an accommodator, because they may have just lost 2 room nights, or maybe 100 room nights, just depending upon how many guests they had on that airplane, right? And so I think that in Indigenous tourism, we try to humanize it. We try to make it practical. We definitely do it grassroots. And although not every organization agrees, for the most part, we've been able to move forward that way. So I feel like we are decolonizing Indigenous tourism. We do use structure, we do use technology, and we do use modernized approaches, but we try to do it so that it enables versus roadblocks. And that's our main goal.
A lot of our partners are very open to including Indigenous culture in their content. We recently had a company that's very close to our community, and they actually work within our natural resources department, and they have a few employees that are Mi'kmaq from our community, and they're Mi'kmaq from surrounding communities too as well. With some of them are with Halibu First Nation, and they wanted to have a corner set up so that a person can go, an Indigenous person, a Mi'kmaq person could go, and they would feel more comfortable in that space, but they weren't sure in what kind of things that would be welcomed in that space. So they called out to us, and they spoke to Susan about what she felt would be okay to go into that space. So we helped that company set up a corner in their lounge area for that Indigenous person to go. And it started out as a discussion around the corner as such, but then they soon realized that an area within the building that's a little more private, where someone can go and smudge or offer prayers or just to sit and be quiet in their own thoughts, would be a much better space. So that collaboration it gave new meaning to the partnership that the band has with that company. So it was special.
I think in my multiple years now with the organization, I have seen so much growth. Like, we are seeing Indigenous people on boards and at tables and being listened to, given time to speak. I think often too, again, because of the lack of knowledge, people will say things like, well, we need a land acknowledgement, and they leave it at that. But really, often what we want to provide is a cultural engagement. Could start with a cultural welcome, but then it could evolve into something much bigger, and it should be almost incorporated in everything that they're doing, right? Because they don't really truly understand the power of it just yet. But once we get an opportunity to partner them with community members, they start to see it. And so we're seeing lots of growth with many partners that way. Back to the hard side of it, again, the consistency. If they don't know who to contact, if they don't have the funds to compensate, and also too, if they don't have the time to actually fit it into the very busy schedule of whatever they're doing. You know, a prayer, acknowledgement, or even a respectful invitation may not always happen. So in my opinion, it's the Indigenous Tourism Association's jobs as well as the community members' jobs to keep reminding these partners that it's really important to have that engagement.
We have 3 different cultures. So we have Mi'kmaq, we represent the Mi'kmaq, and we represent the Innu and the Inuit. And we have 2 very big land masses. And we have some beautiful, beautiful landscape that you have to travel a distance to get to. Torngat Mountains is a perfect example of that, and the cultures there. And a lot of our offers are very, very much land-based. So hunting, trapping, living on the land.
Yeah, Newfoundland and Labrador is really special in terms of being a place with incredible people and a destination for people to explore. Again, we have this landmass of Labrador that is connected to the rest of Canada, has this beautiful gateway into Quebec, and even to the north. We have communities that are distributed along the coastline, and now new communities that are now developing in other sections inland as well. The land resonates like you would not believe. And then the people and the culture, they have history there that dates back very, very far. We do have a history of kind of the connection of peoples coming from both sides of the world in Newfoundland and Labrador, which is really special. And although the interactions weren't always positive, that is huge for humankind going across the world. We also have the island, which is absolutely huge. It takes hours, if not days, to drive across. And when people come and experience it, we usually say to kind of portion off your trip to different sections of the island because there's so much to see and do and people to engage with. We have a huge Indigenous population. We have First Nation and we have Inuit. We also have people that have moved to Newfoundland and Labrador with lots of different Indigenous backgrounds from around the world, in fact, that live now in Newfoundland and Labrador because of its beauty and because of its charm. So in terms of exploring, you can visit designated communities, or you can even go out just on the land in other communities that may not be designated and still interact with Indigenous people. We have Indigenous musicians and artisans and accommodation owners, experience providers, the list goes on and on. The elders are incredible, we work with them often. The youth, the Indigenous population is growing like crazy, there's so many young people there. So we really hope that people will come and experience it over and over again too, not just one trip, but over and over because it's such a big land and so many different diverse cultures.
I guess if you're a student and you're looking to work with Indigenous groups and communities, that there are protocols to that, and to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask about them. They're not as strict as some people think they are. It's just that if you know them before you come, then it just makes life easier for all of us. And that we're really, really looking forward to working with anyone outside the community that wants to learn about our cultures and our heritage, and anyone that would like to work with us, especially if that means that we're going to get that information out to the world. Reach out to us and we're more than willing to collaborate or partner on any of the initiatives. I guess, yeah, and the most important thing is that every community, every village, every tribe, we're all different. So even someone as close as Mi'abogek First Nation and Halibu First Nation, we both live on the Newfoundland island, but we're very different in some of the things that we do. So what you learn in Qalipu First Nation, and then you come to visit Conne River, while we have a lot of similarities, we also have a lot of differences too as well. So just reach out, learn those differences first, and then, you know, when we get together, then we're a little further down the road.
I would say that they're on the right path. They really are. Everything that they're doing in terms of furthering their education will help them to, number one, make money, and number two, find a really cool career path, but then number three, help their communities, and number four, help people in the world. Because people travel for a variety of reasons, and they're typically to escape. They want to let loose after going to school, or they had a really hard week at work, so they're going on vacation. They lost a family member, or maybe it's a good thing. They just got married and they want to go celebrate it. But those are emotional reactions. And so when you work in tourism, you have a possibility to impact people really deep inside, which in my opinion is really darn cool. So I think they're on the right path, and I encourage them to continue finding more learning opportunities, because tourism is way too diverse to know it within just a few years. It would take lifetimes, in my opinion, to gain it all, and to try different jobs in different realms, because although you may just have a front desk job when you first start, or a serving job or something like that, that actually may get you into your next dream job. It might be the way that you build your skills and knowledge, or connections, because it's all about connections in the industry, that will take you to where you want to go.
Ego igande ha ego guandu dana hey hey ego igande hey